we'll limit them as far as practice is concerned. Other than that, we'll go with questions.
So Mike O'Hara, first question.
Yeah, Coach. Thanks. This is about your defense. I think Bob Quinn said it after the draft. In his post-draft presser, he said that you really concentrated on defense in free agency and kind of shifted the other way predominantly in the draft. I wonder how important is it, given the situations you guys are under now and the time squeeze to get ready for the start of the season. How important is it to have veterans who started games, key backups who know down and distance and all that other stuff to be ready, not to be overwhelmed by the start of the season, but ready to go right from the jump?
Yeah. I mean, I think, in general with any of the phases of the game, I think even just having guys that have played in an NFL game before, and understand that atmosphere, certainly without the preseason games, that's something for us that has a lot of our attention as far as, how do we get these guys acclimated to what the NFL game feels like compared to maybe college and what's it like to be in our stadium and play on our field and travel. Like we have had none of those, we'll have none of those experiences going in. So just having veteran guys that, maybe I don't want to say kind of roll with it a little bit better, but kind of have that veteran experience to handle all those situations a lot easier. It's not new. Sometimes we say with the younger guys or the new guys, the lights are pretty bright. And sometimes the veterans, they have that savviness where, they're just focused on the game. So that'll be a big part of it.
All right. Thank you.
Yep.
Justin.
Morning, Matt. I realize you're in your bubble and you're trying to focus on football, but it's tough to ignore what is happening across sports last night and continuing on this morning. NBA canceled all their games, several MLB games, several practices around the league this morning. Nobody's looking for credit for starting a movement, but as you see these events transpire around the league, what is your feeling as more and more players across sports express their concerns with what's going on in the world today?
Yeah. I think for us, I mean, I'm certainly, I appreciate this team and I'm really thankful for this team and the players that are, that I get the privilege to stand in front of every morning. So, certainly that's not lost in any of this conversation. I think, I think those guys are great. And I think that if there's, any chance that maybe, we got everybody to maybe stop and think for a minute. That's really great, and I think we have a simple saying is, just listen, and right now that's really what we just want everybody to do is listen. And, we understand that, this isn't a sprint. It's not a race. It's a marathon. And it's something that we just got to make sure we do a good job of continuing the conversation. So I just, this team it's special. In that accord, it's a great group of guys. They're great leaders. They're great teammates. I appreciate that.
On that point of just listen, I was just curious, how has your daily routine changed with the team in terms of opening up the floor for conversations outside of football? Do you set aside a segment every day of team meetings? How has that evolved this offseason through training camp?
Yeah. I would say that just from the off season, really probably where everything kind of started and we started having conversations, just want to make sure that we have, that we have space. It's not, sometimes it's not really formatted. It's not necessarily, the same every day. Every day is a little bit different. We try to do some things each day to grow as a team, to grow as people, and to do different things to help and reach out and be out in the community in a positive way. So certainly we try to do a little bit of that every day. And then on those occasions where you really can feel the space is needed, we want to make sure that we're just, giving that to everybody.
Thanks, Matt.
Morning, excuse me. Morning, Matt.
Morning.
The criticism that I've heard or that I've seen out there about the protests that are happening around the country is that it's not going to do anything, that it's just words. And I'm curious if you or your team have talked about actionable things you want to do going forward in the community or maybe during games this year. Is there any kind of anything else you have talked about as a team that you want to do?
Yeah, that's obviously a big part of all the conversation is, trying to always converse about what do we do and what do we do next. And, we're certainly trying to, put ideas together. We have some ideas that we're trying to put into action. And a lot of it is just, making sure we do it the right way and trying to figure out a way that it's impactful. And that, it does continue people to stop and think and to have a conversation and listen to each other. And, I think if there was a, just one answer, I think, all of us, any of us would just do it. But I think that's the difficult part, is that we just got to make sure that, we don't get numb to anything, and that we do continually just have the conversation. I think that's the biggest part of it.
Chris?
Morning, Matt.
Morning.
Couple quick ones for you. First, can we watch practice from the cooling tent?
No.
And then, just on this topic, you've sort of touched on this a little bit, but you've talked a lot about how you're keeping an eye on guys physically. And you mentioned sort of opening the floor and checking on everyone. Just kind of speaking as someone who's had anxiety issues himself in the past, like, I'm just curious on the other side of it. If the team or you specifically are doing anything with the mental well-being of the players right now, just to make sure that guys aren't being overwhelmed by, everything that's going on right now on the field and off it.
That's really been something that, really ever since I've gotten here, we've definitely made sure that the mental health of our players is a top priority, and provided, services and people and space to be able to make sure that, everyone is, in mentally and emotionally good health. I think that's a big part of it too. It's something that I think that just in normal times is important every single week going into the game. There's a lot of pressure. There's a lot of, just things in general that cause anxiety. And then certainly in our, in the times currently, that's amplified even more. So we do have all of those things in place. It was something that I made sure that we did as soon as I got here, because, the game itself is hard, and then life on top of it is even harder. And we do want to make sure that everybody's okay on that facet of it. So just as important as we talk about, soft tissue injuries and muscle pulls and training and all that stuff, the mental health and mental well-being and emotional well-being of our players is critically important.
Thanks, Matt.
Yeah, you're welcome. And then maybe I can get the ground crew out there with a hose or something.
Appreciate it.
We'll go three more. Mike, Larry, then Tim.
Yeah. Hey, Matt, how are you? I'm curious, with everything that was going on in sports yesterday, was there any further talk today of possibly not practicing again? And is there a line where that comes up on a daily basis, or is that fluid at all? And secondly, with the NBA, players protesting and not playing in games, has there been any talk of what would happen if your team decided not to play in a game this season?
Yeah. I would say just for us, and I'll only speak on the Lions, but, part of what we do right now is really, it's day by day. I think that everything is moving at a fast pace, and things are happening that, for us, we try to stay as normal as possible in unnormal times, but we certainly know that everything is unnormal. So day by day, we need to kind of just make sure that, we're all in a good place, and we're all just okay and ready to do whatever it is that the team feels we need to do that day. So that there is a little bit of maybe a daily check. I guess maybe that's the best way to put it for you.
Larry?
Hey, Matt, just a heads up, I'm day to day with a head injury. I hit the bleachers trying to get out of the rain.
Umbrella, use an umbrella. You'll be all right.
I know, right? Any thought on having some kind of controlled scrimmage at some point to replicate some game atmosphere or situations, when you do Ford Field or another time?
Yeah. Great question. So obviously working into this week, which is, let's call it what would be around the preseason game number 3 week. This is a week where we're kind of building towards the end of the week for a little bit more of an intense competitive practice here this weekend. So, we're looking forward to that. And as long as, again, we take it as it comes here with injuries and the health of the players. But if we stay on track with that, we'd like to try to get some really good competition this weekend. And then probably again, mid next week, will be another target point for us, so that it's far enough away from the start of the season, but also we're making sure we're getting enough of an evaluation, whether it's front end evaluation of the roster or back end evaluation of the roster. We want to make sure we have, time to do that.
So Tim, last question.
Hey, Matt, good morning. Hey, I was just curious if where have you seen the biggest progress with Jeff Okudah over the first week of padded practices?
Yeah. First of all, are you driving? Could you just pay attention to the road here? Because
I'm almost there. I'm almost there. I'm
okay,
good.
All right. I don't even know if this is legal right now. I think Jeff Okuda has done a really good job of just all the way through camp of learning. I think at the beginning of camp, as we know, with young players all the way across the board, there's a lot to learn. There's a lot of technique, but just kind of the system too on top of it. Certainly, sometimes learning how to practice like a professional is part of it, and staying on our feet and making sure we're under control with things. Jeff is extremely competitive. He wants to compete on every play, and it's just learning some of the things and how we do them that I think he's really made great strides on. I really think he's really done a good job and improved in that area. I think the communication, of the defense is a big part of it, especially at the safety or the corner position, working with the safeties to be able to get that communication down. I think he's done a really good job with that too. So, it's a progression. It's a long road. There's a lot to be covered here in a short amount of time. So that part of it's been good, but his competitiveness and the way that he approaches it and works, that's been great.
Thanks, Matt.
Justin, one quick one.
Hey, Matt, thank you for taking one more. Guy I just wanted to ask about for the last couple of days because he's performing so well at practice. Tony McRae, obviously the connection there with Braden Coombs and the special teams, but what is he offering you defensively with all these pass breakups, and what can he bring to your defense?
Yeah. Very savvy player, smart, and he's got great quickness, great short space quickness, and really does a good job in kind of some of the top of the route stuff right now. He's done a really good job of playing up and through the pocket and playing the hands in some of the passing situations, and he just plays hard, plays aggressive. So, with that, we'll see how it all works itself out, and certainly carving roles and special teams and defense and trying to figure out those scenarios, and certainly the more value you can add by the more positions you can help with, that just helps overall. So just real impressed with, I'd say his work ethic, the way that he shows up every single day the same and produces every day. That's really what you want.
Really appreciate it, Matt.
Yep. You're welcome. Okay.
Thanks, Coach. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, Coach.
Bye-bye.